and her name is Minerva. She's the flower of the flower.
Come, Rudolph. There is a rat loose in the castle, Rudolph. Return him to me, and I shall reward you with a spider goulash.
Indeed, let's go. God, like this camera, man. Sometimes I'm like washed out. Other times I look fine. And let me see if I have my. Oh, that. See, I need to put on the touch up my appearance like 200%. There. Yeah, I don't look any better. Hey, everybody. It is Aaron live. My goodness. It's March 30th, 2025. I have no idea what episode number this is. Like we do on Graybeards, I count the episodes. This I have not. It's been years. I don't think my beard was this gray when I started. It was gray, but not this gray. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm thankful that there's all a few of you still willing to join me. It's a cloudy, rainy day here in Oregon. Now, we did a little sunshine yesterday, so I was actually got out and mowed the lawn, although the backyard was a freaking mosh pit, and it was a nightmare, but I did it, and I feel pretty good about myself. This morning, finished up, well, actually, mostly yesterday, but a little bit this morning, finished up my taxes. In other words, finished up what I have to do for my taxes. Then I get to go take them to my accountant, who will then charge me $1,000 to do my taxes. It's great fun. That's what you get when you're incorporated. You got to pay more money, but supposedly you save more money in the long run. I don't know. If I was making like huge bucks, maybe I'd be able to track it a little better. But when you're barely getting by being a corporation and saving a few bucks here and there, I don't know. All I know is I don't have to do Schedule C and Schedule A anymore, which I'm thankful for. I used to do TurboTax, right? And you'd get the TurboTax for $49.99, whatever, download it, and it would just take you through the entire process, and it'd ask you questions, you'd enter the stuff, and then it'd spit out the forms at the end. And I did that for years. But once I became incorporated, which was required of me from DC Comics, if I wanted to be a writer artist, I had to be incorporated, because this little inside baseball, because it would look, if you were a freelancer and was doing all that, it would look like DC was your sole employer, and then it would be hard for them to treat you as a work for hire when you're basically doing everything for them. And so for tax purposes, they required us to be corporations so that they wouldn't have the problems of saying, hey, that guy's a full-time employee of ours. He's his own corporation. And so that's why when I became incorporated, so I could write and draw at DC, I only wrote and drew 2 projects for them. 3. Okay, 4, but other than that. And I've been incorporated ever since. Wow, what a completely ridiculous and uninteresting story, but I've already wasted 10 minutes. Okay, let's see who's here. Sequential treasures. Now, this is interesting. James says, Steranko covers. Is this just a bit so you can show off your signed Creatures on the Loose issue? I got him to sign for you. Oh, and he's the first one in the door. Well, James, thank you for being first one in. You get nothing for that, but I appreciate your participation. Funny thing is, when I read that, I was like, what is he talking about? And so I went in my comic boxes, flipped through Creatures on the Loose, and sure enough, there is a signed copy of Creatures on the Loose 21 with a Steranko cover on it, signed by Steranko. I totally forgot that I had it, and I can't remember when James, who apparently is taking credit for giving it to me, gave it to me. I don't remember. I don't remember. But thank you, James. I appreciate it. But there it is. It's sitting in my collection. So I do have it. You're claiming, that you gave it to me. So I can only assume that you're telling me the truth. So yes. So I did not pick Steranko just to show the cover that you signed or had him sign for me, but it did wake me up to the realization that I actually did have it. So there you go. Corum is here. Says, I remember as a teenager getting the Boris cards. Oh boy. Boris is an interesting dude because much like Wrightson, if you look at his early stuff, his 70s, maybe early 80s stuff was really, really good. And then it got too photo reference dependent, and everything got really sort of stiff, and all the characters looked like bodybuilders because that's who he was using for models, and he was just literally doing the exact. He wasn't interpreting anything. He was just basically transferring photos that he posed onto the board and painting them. And so everything looked very stiff and artificial, and everybody looked like a bodybuilder with they didn't look like Conan. They looked like a guy posing as Conan. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain. But if you look at his earlier stuff, which we will do, it's really, really nice stuff and has a lot of fresh energy to it that was lacking in his later stuff, his more commercial stuff. Not that I'm in any position to criticize Boris Vallejo, because he's certainly far superior to me. And yet, I got to call it as I see it. So there you go. Past Master Dan is here. Says tally-ho with Vallejo helps with pronunciation, allegedly. Sequential Artist says, greetings, Aaron and chat. Excited for another great show from the master of the Lopresti-verse. And that sounds like a compliment, and I'll take it as a compliment. Thank you very much. But since I am Lopresti and it is the Lopresti verse, I would by default have to be the master of it. Okay, Creative Faye says, hope today's going well. Good lineup again. Thank you. Freakaboogie, yes, it is going fine. Freakaboogie. Freakaboogie. More Boris commentary. Mark Pengram yelling Steranko. StealthX5 says, hi. Pity Maw is here. Helder 6480. Pantheon. Wow. Pantheon says, greetings and salutations. You won't believe this. I have over 4,000 comic books, over 1,000 art books, and not one of them is by Jim Steranko. That's hard to believe. Now, granted, you're probably significantly younger than me, so you probably started collecting significantly later than I did. So Steranko was very much a thing when I was a young lad collecting comics, whereas, he's now in that kind of legend status, but really hasn't, been in the mainstream for quite some time. So if you, started collecting around, in the mid 80s or something like that, it's not surprising you wouldn't have any Steranko books. But after today, I'm expecting you to go find some. Randy Howell, all the way from Canada, is here. Marcus Killigrew, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge. Of course, Marcus is back to being late, I see. Yeah, but I couldn't find my glasses. I don't think I probably should not have even said that, but I'm doing this anyway. Marcus. Jerry Rasco is here. I saw Jerry. You were on somebody's. Who are you on with? I saw you on a YouTube show. I can't remember. Was it Katie Dids or was it? I can't remember, but I saw you. Andy Dalliff is here. Fox Mulder is joining us. Thanks, Fox. Appreciate seeing you again. Heat Miser is joining us. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is almost always here. There's Michelle Bowers. Hey, Michelle. Best Age Comics. What else we got in here? Bill Weist. Hey, they're actually catching this live for a change. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that. Paul Taylor, all the way from Canada. Our resident biologist is making an appearance. Thank you very much. Eric Boyd joining us. Oh boy. Paul Taylor says, just got back from the mall, KFC and a Chachi's sandwich. Wait a minute. You had both? You had Kentucky Fried Chicken and a sandwich? Wow. Okay. Okay. Hey, who am I to judge? Let's see here. There's a Stealth X5 for $2. He says hello. Thank you, Stealth, with his Gary Martin little icon there. Actually, it's Batman, but drawn by Gary Martin. Marcus Killigoose says the camera won't help Aaron. Wow, that's twice. I'm in a foul mood. Taxes do that to you. I know I'm always in a foul mood, but I'm really in a foul mood because of my taxes. Let's see. Conversation going back and forth. There's Apex Comics. Did I mention Apex? I don't think I have, but there you go. Rand Arrington joining us. What's up, Aaron? Thanks for joining us. HR is here. Apex says free domestic shipping if you back the Dan Lawless Fembat variant cover. That's an excellent cover, by the way, that Dan did. Let's see here. There's Jay Dredd. Oh, just finished Kit Carter Planet Doom. It's the best CG book I've read in 2025. Good work, sir. Keep it up. Thank you, Jay Dredd. Appreciate that very much. Paul Taylor says the only legend I heard of when I was regularly buying comics was Neil Adams. Well, Neil, yeah, Neil is legendary. One of the greats, one of my favorites. I'm around, but have to cook dinner. You always say that. You're always cooking dinner. Quoth the Raven, Louis Braven. Quoth the Raven, Louis Bright Raven says that he's cooking dinner, and he's always cooking dinner during my show. I don't understand it. Lopez isn't late. He appears precisely when he means to, which just so happens to resemble being late. Okay, let's see here. We've got quite a green lasers here. Jimmy Owens. Jimmy Owens says, hey, hello there, and sorry I'm late. See, that's what I like to see. I like to see the chat apologizing to me for being late rather than accusing me of being late. That's what I like to see. Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate that. Okay, Henry Jeremick says, Steranko covers. Got to go. 1 Doc Savage, 2 Creatures on the Loose, 3 Captain America, 4 Nick Fury, but that's just me. You're not far off. You're not far off. Dale A is here. Would John Byrne or George Price count as a legend? They both would. Yeah, they both would, but they're not. I don't think they're in the same category as Neil Adams. Not even close, in my opinion. In my educated opinion, Rand. But they are legends of the industry, certainly. Ms. Stippling says, tell Stip to come downstairs and eat dinner. I will never tell anyone to leave my show, Ms. Stippling, under any circumstances. even if it is for food. Actually, I know that, Marcus. I know you know everything, but that is something I did know. I know a lot about him, but we're only going to look at his comic book covers, not his book covers. This is comic book covers. I mean, I could do Steranko as an illustrator, and maybe I'll do that later down the line. But today we're just looking at his comic book covers, at least some of my favorites of his comic book covers. Sequential for 5. Thank you, sir. Sorry about bungling my attempt at complimenting, but Boris reminds me of the Masters of the Universe IP art, and I consider Universe way better. Wow, thank you. Now that is a compliment with $5 to go along with it. That really, really hits the spot. There we go. Let's see. Solcurialt. Am I saying that right? Solcurialt. I think so. Wow, literally me. This is true. Jim Steranko's captured all media with his fantastic art. Yes, he's been a publisher. He's done, of course, Media Scene magazine, which was actually a newspaper for a long time. Jimmy says, "Can someone help me here? I'm only 6 years. I'm only 6 years old. I'm only 6 years into comics, and when I met Jim Sterling and Aaron in Puyallup last year, I got a print of." You mean Jim Starlin? I got a print of Starlin's Thanos, Warlock, etc. drawings. Had his name on it. Bum. What are you trying to say, Jimmy? Let's see. I'm 6 years into comics, and when I met Jim Starlin, I assume that's what you meant, and Aaron in Puyallup last year, yes, I got a print of Starlin's Thanos, etc., Warlock, etc. drawings. Had his name on it. Well, if he drew them, why wouldn't it have his name on it? Why is that a bummer? Oh, no, Jim was a writer-artist, always has been. He drew Captain Marvel, Warlock. He did the legendary graphic novel, The Death of Captain Marvel. He mostly did writing back into the 90s with the Thanos stuff. In the Infinity Gauntlet, that stuff was usually drawn by somebody else and written by him. But he was an artist back in the 70s, and a very popular one at that. This is the first time I've heard of all the artists mentioned in the thumbnail. Hail. Paul Taylor for 10. Well, Paul, you're going to get educated today then. This is an interesting thing. We'll get into that later, but about Hulk Annual #1. I meant but hit send instead. It's all right, Jimmy. That's all right. Yes, Dreadstar. There's another thing that Starlin did. That was through Marvel's Epic line of creator-owned books. Okay. All righty, folks. So that's pretty much the show. Thanks for joining me. Of course, I'm joking. I've got tons of stuff today, and but let's start it off right. Let's start it off. I don't have anything to eat today. I kind of like, I'm sort of really getting close to doing a keto diet. I haven't quite got there yet, but I'm starting to move in that direction. Just slow. I'm, slowly cut the carbs, and then, but I don't have a snack today, as I was thinking healthy thoughts yesterday, and so I didn't get anything. So we're going to move right to Frazetta for the day. So watch your monitors. I have that hardcover, not in near mint. Getting books in near mint condition is pretty difficult, especially with dust jackets. Yeah, so those are great books. We did, if you remember, way back when we started this whole Frazetta thing 66 episodes ago. So that was 66 weeks ago. That's over a year ago. 67 weeks, excuse me. We did a lot of the black and white illustrations he did inside those books, but we never did the covers. And so we're taking a look at the oil painted covers for that series of books from Doubleday Books. I think there was 5 of them. Hardcover, little spot illustrations by Frazetta. They are the coolest thing, and they're not that expensive. So you can find them on eBay pretty easily. Paul Taylor's correct. That is the first John Carter book. Jimmy Owen says, where's Shelley? Shelley is asleep. No, I don't think she's going to be appearing today. Hope always springs eternal for next week, though. Let's see. Okay, so I guess I've got people are sending me dollars in the mail to fill out questionnaires, and I don't fill out the questionnaires. I just keep the buck. So anyway, I was just laying there and I thought, where did that dollar come from? And then it reminded me where that dollar came from. Okay, so as you folks may know, this show is completely dependent on your kindness and willingness to subscribe and hit the like button. Frankenstein demands your compliance with this directive, and I would hope that you, feeling the pressure, would actually hit the like and subscribe and tell your friends and your enemies all about it, because there's no show quite like this on the internet, and that's probably a good thing. So here we go. Where am I at? I'm lost in my own... I ordered something on eBay. It's not very big. I mean, it's size-wise, it's fairly big, but in terms of price, you know, it wasn't much of a. But it's nice. I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to switch cameras, and this probably would have been better to actually have last week when we were talking about Buscema covers. But yeah, so this is a Savage Sword of Conan number 88 from 1983. Now, I don't know who did the cover. No offense, but nor do I care. What I got this for, I know, look at this. I'm actually going to open this book. It is in near mint condition, but that's not going to stop me. This has got, come on. This is Buscema inked by Nebrez, which I am a big fan of, that combination. Because I told you many times, I love Nebrez's finishes, but his figure work is a little weird sometimes. So this is a 54-page story. I mean, the whole magazine is one story, which a lot of times you wouldn't get. You get like a couple of stories in here. But just great stuff. I know Paul Taylor's like, I can't stand it. Who's the color at? Look at that. Nice little sea serpent there. So I found a couple of pages on Buscema pages on comic art galleries people were displaying. And one of them was from this issue. And I really liked it. So I said, look at that face. Look at that face. That's excellent. A little ink wash on here too, I'm noticing. But the page made me think, I want to get this issue. So I spent a whopping $8 on this. This was the page right here where they're fighting that someone had on their comic art galleries. Just like clockwork, huh? Anyway, so there's a ton of these books. There's a ton of these books, Savage Swords that have Buscema ink by Nebres in them. But tis a dog barking in the distance. Not distant enough. So anyway, that's what I bought this week. Actually, I bought another one that hasn't showed up yet. And we'll have to take a look at that next week, along with a couple other things. But there we go. There's that. Let's see here. Well, actually, he's my mom is supposed to be feeding him right now, but it's delivery people. They keep showing up on Sunday right when I do this show, Amazon or whoever. And if they're not even delivering to my house, they just park near here and he goes nuts. So there you go. Yeah, that's right. That would be Amazon delivering Aaron's entry for next week's segment. That's probably what it is. Okay. Anyway. If I seem a little bit out of sorts to you, it's because I am. I was rushing to get this stuff ready today. Never prepared like I should be. Okay, let's jump right into our discussion of Mr. Jim Steranko, who actually does remember me, that's why he's moved up my list of favorite artists. Yep, Big Jim. Now, Jim started in the 60s, but a lot of his cover work kind of spread out into the 70s. So again, even though we're still technically in the Silver Age, there's going to be some 70s covers in here simply because, like I said, it spanned both decades. So, so we'll move around a little bit. These aren't in any particular order, but let's take a look at this one. All right, this is Captain America 110. Now, Steranko has a legendary 3-part Captain America story. Issue 110, 111. He wasn't ready when 112 needed to come out. So 112 was actually a Kirby issue that retold the origin of Captain America. And then 113 was the final Steranko issue of this run. It's fantastic. It has some of his best work, some of his most innovative and interesting storytelling. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. If you can't afford the comics, these have been reprinted a gazillion times. Go find them in reprint and check them out. You will not be sorry. Marcus Killigrew says, Kirby drew Cap 112 over a weekend. I believe it. Kirby was, just crazy. But there you go. Now this one, This goes back, now we're back in the 60s, probably around 67 maybe. Why is this significant? It's significant to me because it is the first Silver Age appearance of the Yellow Claw, one of my favorite Cap villains, and also was a Shield villain. Also incredibly politically incorrect right now, so that's why I love it even more. You can see this is earlier Steranko because he's still got that Kirby influence. He started off very much Kirby-esque and then just sort of evolved into what he became. But this still has a lot of that Kirby influence to it, and yet still Steranko-y. But yes, I do have a near mint copy of this because it is, again, the first Silver Age appearance of our good friend, the Yellow Claw. All right. Now we're going to jump ahead into the 70s. And this is Creatures on the Loose. This is the one that James, Sequential Treasures, in the chat, got a signed copy of for me from Steranko. Again, I don't remember when this happened, but it is in fact in my collection. I can verify that. But I don't remember the show that happened at. But thank you anyway, James. I appreciate it. I have 2 copies of this now. A near mint copy that isn't signed, and then the copy that is signed, and I don't know what condition it's in, but that's really not the point, is it? This is Gulliver Jones, Warrior of Mars. You say, wait a minute. Isn't that John Carter? No. Actually, Gulliver of Mars predates, in the pulp magazine era, predates John Carter of Mars. I thought it was the other way around. I thought this was a ripoff of John Carter, but it is in fact not true. This predates John Carter, Burroughs John Carter. So did Burroughs rip this off? Did they, were they unaware of each other? It's very possible. But Gulliver Jones, Warrior of Mars, all the people were yellow in his world, not red, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But there's like a pterodactyl dude. He looks like Sauron, except it's sort of like a costume, but it isn't, because he can pull they open the pterodactyl head and his face is in there, but I think it's sort of like attached to the rest of the head. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. But I loved this series as a kid. And it ran this was the last issue. I believe the first one was 16, issue number 16, maybe 16, probably ran about 6 issues. And then this was followed by Thongor, which was a barbarian comic. And Steranko did the cover for that one too, but I like this cover better. That's why we're featuring this. And this would have been 72, probably, maybe 73. It looks like it's just after the box. I mean, there's still a box here, but the 72 boxes on the Marvel covers would only extend to about right here. This goes all the way across. And so that was part of 73, I think. So this is probably 73. Now, another 70s comic that I was a big fan of, once again, harkening back to the pulp days. Doc Savage, the Man of Bronze. He did 2 covers for Doc Savage. And again, the reason I'm picking this is because I love Doc Savage. And I read this book, and I love this book. And see, this is the what the box covers looked like. See how the box ends before it gets to the spine. So this is like 1972, all through the year 1972. And then in 73, they sort of extended the box for a little bit, and then they just quit doing it. I like Killraven. His uniform's a little questionable until P. Craig Russell took it over and gave him a new uniform, which was much better. But I do like Killraven. In fact, I bought the Alan Davis miniseries in the 90s, early 2000s, when he did a Killraven miniseries. Although he put him back in his questionable wrestling outfit that Sean Connery made famous in that movie. What was it called? Zardoz or something? Ooh. Anyway. Ross Andrew did the interiors on these books. But groovy Steranko cover. And you know what? I'm just going to go full Doc Savage here. And I picked the other Doc Savage cover he did right there. Of course, I have both these books in near mint condition because that's just who I am. This is actually pretty good too. This is based on the Death in Silver book or story. I also have all the paperbacks with the James Bama covers. So yeah, I kind of like Doc Savage. I think he's kind of cool. Leg Kick for 5. Thank you, Leg Kick. Says, did you get the Marvel team up with Doc Savage and the Thing? I have not got it yet. I am aware of it. For some reason, it just has not. I have not picked it up yet. And there's also a giant size Spider-Man. I think it's number 3 that has a Doc Savage crossover in it that I used to have, but I don't have anymore, and I want to get it again. So there you go. Henry Jeremick saying Herb Trimpe changed Killraven's outfit, not Craig Russell. That's okay, forgive you. Really, I didn't know that. But kudos to Herb Trimpe for making his outfit a little bit more palatable, shall we say. Again, you know, the elements here of these covers are, and you know, that always resonates with me is the large central figure to draw your attention in. And that's what we got going on here again. This one is really good too. And this, of course, is from the 70s, probably 73 again. I do have this, but not in near mint. It's like in VF. I'm kind of ticked off. I want to get a near mint copy. But anyway, this is Supernatural Thrillers, number 2, The Invisible Man cover by Big Jim Steranko. I really, really like this cover. I think it's great. And again, because you get the big Invisible Man shot, you know, half the bandage is off. I mean, it's just cool. Now, this series, Supernatural Thrillers, is probably best known for premiering the Living Mummy. So the Living Mummy's first appearance is in Supernatural Thrillers number 5, excuse me, which I have in near mint, of course. In fact, I have this a whole run of Supernatural Thrillers. Ooh, Heat Miser says, I have the Invisible Man as a 9.6, couldn't find a 9.8. Well, good for you. 9.6, that's impressive. I only have a couple 9.6 books. One of the ones I have that I just recently picked up because it was the price on it was just ridiculous and ridiculously good, so I couldn't pass it up. First appearance of Thundra in the Fantastic Four. It was 129, maybe. A 9.6 of that, and it was like practically half price. So you know, I jumped on that. But I don't think I have any other. I might have another 9.6, like an Iron Fist or something silly like that. Speaking of Supernatural Thrillers, if you're going to go with issue number 2, well, gosh darn it, let's just go ahead with issue number 1 as well. Now, both the Invisible Man cover and this cover were done on one of the Marvel Monster magazines and then redone here by Steranko. And I'm not really sure why he redid them, but he did. I can't remember this cover was on a magazine. I can't remember which one it was. And I actually think this is better. The other one was painted. I don't know. I'm sure Steranko did it. I can't imagine he'd be ripping somebody other than himself off, but maybe Marcus Kilruger can tell us. but I love this one way better. The Thing That Couldn't Die, than the painted cover, I think. And is a little bit more, it's the exact same thing, except the monster is more dynamic. Kellraiser says he has the entire run of all the Marvel monster titles except Tomb of Dracula. I'm not a big Dracula fan. I have bits and pieces of all the monster series, but I don't have entire runs of anything. Not even Man-Thing, although close to an entire run of Man-Thing. Living Colossus, yes. First appearance for the Living Colossus was Tales of Suspense number 20, which I do have. Pardon me, not number 20. It was number 14 from way back in like 1961. And his second appearance was in issue number 20, which I don't have. And then they reprinted those in those early either Creatures on the Loose or I think it was Creatures on the Loose or Where Monsters Dwell. No, it's Creatures on the Loose because I have the reprints. So yes, I have heard of the Living Colossus. Anyway, so I really like this cover. I do have this book. I think it's only in a 9.0 though. It's not graded. Most of my collection is not graded. Despite what many of you may think. I do have a lot of raw copies, and I think I have a 9.0 of this. Okay, now how about this one? Let's go back to, it's probably 67. Could be 68. Yeah, it's the first appearance of Polaris, X-Men number 50. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Steranko did the interiors on this. I have this book. I guess I should have looked, but I'm pretty sure he did the interiors on this as well. He did 49, 50, and 51. He did the covers for all three of those. Or was it 48? No, it was 49, 50, and 51. 53 was Barry Smith's first professional work. I know that if I'm wrong, I'm going to get called out by Marcus Killigrew. He's probably checking right now. But yeah, so there you got first appearance of Polaris. Yes, this is, they ran the X-Men, and then into the 70s, they started reprinting the older X-Men in the X-Men title. So like if you're like reading X-Men, 88 or something, it's a reprint of an earlier issue. And then they finally then launched, I think with, was it 96, X-Men 96, 97, the new X-Men, Nightcrawler and all those guys, Colossus, Wolverine. Of course, the first appearance was in Giant Size X-Men. I don't want people correcting me. I do know that, but Marcus comes through. John Tartaglione inks. How about that? So yeah, I'd like to get this in a 9.2. Like I said, I got it like in the 8.5, somewhere in that neighborhood. But I'm such a condition freak now. It's like even if I have a book in nice condition, it's not quite nice enough. I've got problems, clearly. All right, let's go back to Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. How about that? This is pretty much a classic. I actually did a homage to this cover. I was made to do an homage to this cover, almost an exact homage by Boom. And it caused quite a bit of controversy because I had a girl in her underwear on the cover, and they were like, no, you can't do that. You got to put a dress on her. So I put a dress on her, and then Shelley and I were joking about it on one of my streams. That it was just funny that James Bond people were now uptight about, the sexuality involved in a James Bond, movie or comic book. And then somebody clipped that segment where we were kind of, making fun of the people who had the license for James Bond, because it was a James Bond cover. It wasn't a Nick Fury cover. It was a James Bond cover, but it was homaging this. And then they basically, you know, the headline was something like Lopresti canceled by Boom Comics, and just made just a huge thing out of it. Of course, Boom saw it, and then the licensing people saw it, and then I was in trouble. So that's when I learned not to say anything online that you didn't want to come back and hang you with later. Paul, I don't think that's true. Those Bond girl names, I don't think, I know the first one is, but I don't think the second one is. At this point, it's true. Who hasn't? But I love this because you've got the color, and then of course you got that black and white back there, and it was just, and there was a lot of zip and stuff going on, zip-a-tone, which were dot patterns that you could buy on sheets of plastic, basically, that were sticky on the back, and you would cut them out and paste them on. And that's what all of this stuff right here is, and that cross-hatching stuff back there. But I just thought it was really cool. He did all this black and white, very graphic, and then you get the color image in the front. And only Steranko could have got away with putting black and white on the cover back then. There we go. Sequential Artist has the cover that I was talking about, the James Bond one. Okay, and we talked earlier about Captain America, and I'm going to bring another one of those in. These are my top three. The next three I'm doing here are my top three. This is Cap 111. So Cap 110, that was the one with the Hulk cover. This is Cap 111. I actually homaged this cover on Deadpool -1. Now, everybody was like, well, why didn't you sign it, you know, Lopresti after Steranko on my Deadpool -1 cover? And I said, because although it's based on this, it's different. And I think I probably should pull that up to defend my position here, because I know we've talked about, you know, what's an homage, you know, what's a swipe, what's the difference. Give me a second here to pull this up. All right. Now I want you to look closely at this cover. But again, it's really cool. And it was like the design element to it. The graphic design element was actually, it was just really unique to what anybody else was doing at the time. So that's what makes these Steranko things really stand out. You know, you can say I like his drawing style or I don't like his drawing style, but Steranko was really all about his design and his really pushing his storytelling. And this is a good example of that. Okay, so take a look at this pose. Take a look at this circle back here. Solid color, right? Right? Okay. Now take a look at this. And as you can see, it's not the same thing, but it's incredibly reminiscent to that, right? So it's based on, but not a direct swipe. So therefore, I didn't feel that I should put Steranko's name on here, even though it was clearly the inspiration for this. But you'll notice I signed my name like Steranko did right here. So if I'm going to do an homage, this is the kind of thing that I'd rather do, which is kind of not an exact copy, a redrawn copy, but kind of a flavor, you know, capture what he was going for design-wise, you know. So you can clearly see this was inspired by Steranko, but it's not a direct copy of 111. It just has elements. Lucas Lopez is right on the money. It is a similar layout, but it's completely different. Exactly. And getting back to that James Bond cover that I homaged, the things I turned in originally were cover designs that would look like something Steranko might do, but they weren't a direct homage to any one cover. And my editor was like, yeah, these all look great, but I want you just to rip this cover off. And I went, okay, fine. So that's what I ended up doing because that's what I was told to do. Even though my cover designs for that James Bond thing were very much, you would have looked at it and said, man, that he's doing Steranko, but it wasn't based on any one particular Steranko design, much like when I do my Wraith of God covers, and they're very Gil Kane-y, but they're not any particular Gil Kane cover. So anyway, there you are. Is Gary Martin in the chat? I don't know if are you referring to me as a hack or Steranko? I don't think you would refer to Steranko as a hack. And you shouldn't be referring to me as a hack either. But I'm used to that. So anyway, there you go. Those are that's my homage to Steranko. This is my second favorite Steranko cover of all time. Look at that. He actually didn't do the interiors. He did 1 through 5 on Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then 6 was his last. I was going to say 6 was his last cover. It may not have been. It was his last great cover. This is awesome. I mean, it's like, what in the heck is Nick Fury doing out in space? I don't know, but it looks like the Earth is blowing up, and this would be the moon. So he's on the other side of the moon. That is just a freaking groovy cover. And this whole, this gray, that's all zip. It's like a crosshatch zip. So you'd ink this, right? And then you'd cut out this film with this pattern on it, the crosshatch pattern, to create the gray, and just stick it over the top. That's what he did here. But again, huge central image, really cool. And this planet, this almost, Frazetta like detail back here, although this seems more photographically realistic than what Frazetta would do. But just all the detail in the planet here. Tremendous cover. Tremendous cover. Randy Hall says, cue Pink Floyd. And you're right. Sequential Artist says it invites questions and sells the book. It absolutely does. Now, Henry Jeremek complained about this one earlier, but I picked this one as I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's certainly the most iconic cover that Steranko ever did. Now, here's the thing. This head is not drawn by Steranko. He had a different head on there, if you've ever seen the original. And apparently couple of things. That it was too scary looking, which I find ridiculous. And then it wasn't on point. It wasn't on, what do you call it? It didn't look like the Marvel House style Hulk head. And so they had Marie Severin redraw the head and then paste it over this. So I'm sure Steranko still pisses him off to this day. But it is one of the most ripped off covers, homaged covers ever. And so I don't know how you don't put this one up here. It's such a great concept and a great design. Jerry Rasco for 10. Took a break from live streaming on my channel celebrating my M Squad issue number 2 Indigo launch today. Oh, so I could come hang out here and enjoy some Steranko and Bigfoot. So far, I'm not disappointed. Thank you, Jerry, for joining us. And good luck on your launch of M Squad issue number 2 on Indiegogo. You guys want to check that out when you get a chance as well. Randy Hall dropped a link right there for you guys. Thank you. Not on model. That was the word I was looking for. Model. There's Gary. Gary's such a hack. But anyway, it's, I have a t-shirt of this, for crying out loud. So, I mean, this is legendary stuff. I don't own this book because I was getting ready to buy it pre-COVID. And then we had the collector's boom where all the prices went through the roof in 2020, when everybody had all this money because we couldn't go to work or anything, or spend or anything. And so all this money got pumped into the comic book industry for about 2 years. Prices went through the roof, and now they're all like starting to crash. And I'm not convinced this book isn't going to come down some more. Because it was about $500 before COVID. And right now it got up close to $2,000, and now it's down to about anywhere from $1,000 to $1,200. And I still think it's going to drop. So I'm holding off on picking this up because I hate spending money and then losing money. So it's an investment, people. It's an investment. So there you go. Those are some of the best of Jim Steranko's covers. And a lot of them, especially the 70s ones, like the Creatures on the Loose, the Doc Savage, the Supernatural Thrillers, those books are not that expensive, and they're great covers. So seek them out for your own collecting enjoyment. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to expand your comic book knowledge, and at least where art is concerned. I do want to show this, so I almost forgot. I'm glad I caught this. This, not a cover, but this is a splash page from Captain America 113. One of the most iconic Captain America shots of all time, courtesy of Jim Steranko. Now, he wrote and drew these issues. Did Senate ink these? Somebody help me out. These Captain America. Who inked these issues? I should know that, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I am too. I think it sucks. I hate it when they do stuff like that. There's a great issue of Captain America where first appearance of Nightshade, which would be 164, I think, Cap 164, where the artist whose name escapes me now, because I was just going to think of it and then it escaped me. Well, they had a couple of Cap faces in there that Romita redrew because they didn't like the way he drew Captain America. Alan Weiss did the issue, and it's a great issue. It's my favorite Captain America issue, other than these Steranko ones. It's my favorite Captain America issue. And there's like, every once in a while, there's a Romita head stuck in over the top of the art, and you're just like, oh, come on, you guys. But that's what they used to do, man. That's what they used to do. I thought Sinnott was one of them, and Giacoa. Okay, excellent. And then Henry Jeremick saying Dan Adkins. Okay, so basically everybody inked it. Bretsky. I wonder if the king size Hulk cover was an inspiration for that iconic moment in the Secret Wars with Hulk holding up the mountain. Probably. I have to go back and look at it. Okay. Anyway, that's a great piece. So, if you, like I said, pick up those 3 issues of Captain America, and if you can't get the comics, get the reprints. You know, they've been collected like a gazillion times. So, who's going to be the boss for Wraith of God 4? Loch Ness Monster. The Loch Ness Monster doesn't exist, Victor, so I can't use him. I don't know. Could be. I've been toying with like a swamp monster. I've been toying with a Frankenstein monster. I haven't made up my mind yet. Is that pre-Frazetta? What are we talking about? Are you talking to me or are you talking to somebody in the chat, Lucas Lopez? Nothing I've shown you here is pre-Frazetta. J.C. Vaughn. How about a really tall Billy Tucci as the monster? Billy Tucci is just too darn good looking to be a monster. You know that, J.C. I do have an idea for I do have an idea about a mummy story as well. Okay. Yeah, the Captain America piece. Oh, that's way post Frazetta. That would have been those were 15 centers. No, they were 12 centers. Now I got to look. 12 centers. That would have been 68. That would have been 68. Maybe going into 69 on that last issue. Might have been. So it was all that Frazetta stuff started in, well, the early 60s, but when he really started cooking on the Conan covers was like 67, somewhere in that neighborhood. So it's a little bit before Frazetta. But well, I shouldn't say that. Frazetta's comic book work started in the 50s. So, but his painted work didn't start until the early 60s. So yeah, it was all, that was post Frazetta in that sense. Although Frazetta was still working and going strong at that period of time in 1969 as well. So, okay. You know, the thing about this show is I had to go out and get sponsorship to keep the show alive. And that sponsor is me. So bite down, grin and bear it. It's time for a little commercial break, if you don't mind. Wraith of God 3, Fear Hollow. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the third graphic novel in the series of Wraith of God stories. In this particular one, he faces off against the Headless Horseman. Now, Wraith of God is sort of a Batman of the Old West. He travels around in a nondescript wagon that inside has all of his science stuff. He's a master of disguise. He's weapons. All of his stuff is like this traveling bat cave. And with him, he has a partner named Esther, who's a former Salvation Army worker that he sort of coerced under false pretenses into becoming his partner. But now together they travel the Old West, hunting down monsters and ridding the land of evil. He believes he's on a mission from God, but is he really? We have to read the books to find this stuff out. And on this particular one, we travel to a town from the Wraith's past that he visited once as a child and came face to face with the Headless Horseman. Is the horseman still there? Is he still waiting for him? Gosh darn it, you're going to have to read the book to find out. Now you have 4 cover options that'll take you down that road. There's this one, which features, of course, the Headless Horseman and a gnarly pumpkin. Look at that gnarly pumpkin head right there. Also this, I'm a big fan of EC Comics from the 50s, not because I was around when they came out, but I learned of them through my love of Wrightson, and then Wrightson educated me onto EC Comics, which also inspired him, and then I would go back and find EC Comics. So this is a tribute to an EC Comics type cover. It's not a rip-off of any particular cover. It's just a in the same vein. And then, of course, I'm also a fan of the box covers from 1972 Marvel, and that's what this is. Sort of a Gil Caney kind of feeling cover. I love that obnoxious yellow that I put around it there. Really screams 1972. So that's another option for you. It actually has word balloons, like the old Marvel books. It's no use, Wraith. You're helpless before my dark powers. I should have had him going, ugh, or something like that. But anyway. And then we have this great painted cover by the one and only Chris Stevens, who's been on this show twice. And it's the only podcast. I find it funny referring to this as a podcast, but I guess essentially that is what this is. But it's the only show he's ever been on, is my show. So there you go. This is a great cover. So there's 4 cover options there for you to consider. Here's a little bit of the interior artwork. I'm moving along about halfway done with the book at this point. I'd love to show you some pages, but we're getting too far into the meat of the story, and I really don't want to spoil anything for anybody. J.C. Vaughn, a big Ultraverse fan from back in the early 90s, says that first cover has a great Lord Pumpkin vibe. Indeed it does. You know I was inspired by it. So here's the witch and another villain who's involved in all of this. And then here's a shot of the Wraith rearing back on his horse as they get ready to journey to Cranestown to see if the Headless Horseman is still up to no good. Colors are by Jason Wright. Of course, I'm writing, penciling, and inking, so I'm responsible for just about everything. But Jason, of course, is doing a wonderful job on the covers. I have a character called Imperius superhero type character. I'd like to do an origin story for him. These are pages that I hired David Williams to do for this backup story, but we can't do the backup story unless we hit 100,000. That's our goal. We shall see if we get there or not, but there's still plenty of time. But please consider backing if you haven't done so already. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And we have plenty of add-ons here to go along with the stretch goals that you get. Wraith of God, Wraith Nouveau print, signed and numbered, limited to 500. The Wraith of God Roughs, Volume 3. These are rough layouts to the 48-page, 64-page graphic novel. This book's only 48 pages, so you're not going to get every page of roughs, but you'll get 48 of the best pages of roughs, and you can compare my layouts to what I did for the finished pages. It's always kind of interesting to take a look at that. This comes signed and numbered, and it's limited to the orders, so I'm not going to overprint on this. So if you want to get one, you have to get it through the campaign more than likely. We have a series of shot glasses. The first one was the Wraith of God shot glass. The second one was the Garbage Man shot glass. I happen to have that sitting right here. Okay. Laser etched Garbage Man. And the third one was Kit Carter. And the fourth one now is the Nightclub. If you're saying, Aaron, whoa, what's the Nightclub? Well, I would recommend you picking up either the Garbage Man trade paperback available on my website, or Wraith of God 1, the second printing, which features the Nightclub a little bit in the epilogue, or Wraith of God 2, Blood Hunters, which has a complete Nightclub backup story in it, along with a complete Kit Carter backup story and a complete Garbage Man backup story. Blood Hunters is the best deal that you've ever seen. It's 103 pages, I think, 104 pages, something like that, total. It's pretty good bargain. So you want to check those out. And if you're saying, well, where do I get them at, Aaron? You can get them on my website, or you can get them on this campaign. But first, you can also get a commemorative set of poker chips, or 3 poker chips, the Wraith, Esther, and the Dale Keown Werewolf. Speaking of which, I keep saying this, and I haven't done it because I haven't got around to it, but we're going to put shirts up on this campaign that feature the werewolf again and Bisley's cover from Blood Hunters. But anyway, you can get the back issues here. This is the second printing of the first issue. And there's 2 options, the black and white variant. The interiors are still color, but the cover is just black and white, or the regular one. And this is a new cover I did specifically for the second printing. And then, of course, the award-winning wraparound cover to Wraith of God, Blood Hunters. That's Wraith of God 2 that you can order through this campaign. There's still a little bit of original art on here available, so you want to check out all that good stuff. You'll find a link in the description of this video. It will take you right to this campaign. Thank you for your indulgence. But I'm not done yet. I want to show you guys real quickly my webpage. I keep pushing it, and here it is. You can go. You can sign up for. This is a link right to Wraith of God Fear Hollow right here where it says shop now. You can go to the store. You can go read about Empire Comics, what it means, what's new, what's out, what's available. I can go to my portfolio and just look at my artwork if you want. Or if you want to send me an email, you can do that as well. So what I'm going to feature real quickly here is the store version, because this is where the shopping takes place. If you go up here to the store, see that at the very top? And art for sale. So if you go to the store, you have all products, prints, books, merchandise. So you can look at everything. You can look at them in categories. If you're looking at the books. The hardcover has sold out. The limited edition signed and numbered hardcover is sold out of Kit Carter. I do have like 33 overprint hardcovers left. They will not be signed, nor will they be numbered. So they're not part of that run of the signed and numbered edition. They'll be cheaper. Probably like $45, and I'll put those up soon. But you can see here, you can get Wraith of God #1, second printing. You can get Wraith of God 2, Blood Hunters, and all the different covers that come with Blood Hunters. There's the softcover Kit Carter. There's the Garbage Man trade paperback, Power Cube trade paperback, which is also another creator-owned project of mine. There is the Bisley cover we talked about on Blood Hunters, and the Tales of Suspense cover on Blood Hunters. Sketchbooks, Kit Carter sketchbooks, a couple of ash cans still left, a couple of price guides that I did the covers for, all sorts of cool stuff. And then there's a ton of artwork up for sale. I've got all these sketches that are all listed on here. And I got more coming. And you can also go up and I've got pages. They got some Kit Carter pages here, some Swamp Thing pages, a lot of Justice League pages. I haven't put up any of my Wraith pages yet. Probably will put up some from Blood Hunters. I don't know. And then, of course, I've got like illustrations, so some paintings and things like that, and little higher end illustrations for sale. So there's all sorts of groovy stuff here. And this is just simply aaronlopresti.com. You'll find a link in the description of this video. Go there, get caught up on all your reading, and tell them I sent you. I don't know if that'll do you any good, but there you go. I'm abusing that Dale's artwork as much as I can. In fact, I was going to make a shirt of Bisley's thing, and I thought, you know what, I better check with Biz and make sure he's cool with that. I'm sure he will be, but Dale was like, yeah, do whatever you want with it. I don't care. So I'm like putting on poker chips and, so there you go. All righty. So that was our commercial break. Thank you for staying with me. In fact, the audience has grown. My commercials are bringing people in. Please hit the like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. And okay, so let's do this first. Before we get into Boris Vallejo, let's embarrass. I think I'll show you my work prior to Boris. That's less embarrassing than looking at Boris and then showing you my work. I think. Isn't that the way? You don't want to follow like greatness. You want to be in front of it so that, I think that's right. Right? That sounds logical. Yeah, I got some stuff here. I want to get to the groovier stuff. Oh, here we go. I did a book. We talked about this last week, maybe a little bit the week before, and maybe the week before. Maybe I did a book back in 2008, maybe, for like a real publisher. It was called A Fantastical Creatures Field Guide, How to Hunt them down and Draw them where they live. I hate this cover. I didn't design this cover. I was forced to do this cover. And I did paint it, but I didn't design it. And so I keep thinking about re-releasing this book with a new cover and maybe some updates, a few new creatures in here, whatever. But it's a humorous book that has creature illustrations and then a humorous write-up about what the creature is. And I want to take a look at a couple of pieces. This is the Drooling Wolfhound, a combination of watercolor and acrylic. Most of these are all watercolor, but I was just starting to, I did this back in 2005. I was just starting to explore acrylics and how to use them. So most of the pieces in here are watercolor. This guy right here, this is all watercolor. Character called the, there we go, the Sandbagger. And so these are all watercolors, and then I would outline them with a colored pencil. This is acrylic, with the exception of the mud, which is watercolor. And this is the, what is this guy called? The rhinoceros boar, or for short, the rhinog. So it's a combination of rhino and hog. Mostly acrylic there. These were fire fairies, I think. And then this guy right here is the Amphibianasti. So I did a whole book of paintings with these creatures in them. I can't remember what this guy, this is a rock lizard. I can't remember what it was called though. And then this is the bug-eyed bushbeard right here. Again, all this is watercolor. But it's funny, if you layer enough, you can get some pretty rich colors out of those watercolors. That's the Appalachian Mountain Man, I think, or Woodsman or something like that. I did do a portion at the back of the book. I didn't want to do it, but they made me do it, a how-to. And so I did step-by-step of how I completed this painting. And again, that's all watercolor, outlined in colored pencil. This is a nice Chinese dragon type thing. I can't remember what it was called. And then this pumpkin eating Halloween goblin or something. I can't remember. And then, of course, guys, we never want to forget the Yeti or Bigfoot, but this is more of the Yeti. I think this was like the reluctant Yeti. He's very shy, so he's always hiding behind rocks and stuff. But anyway, there's like most of the paintings for this book I'm pretty happy with. A few of them I'd redo if I did release the book again or re-release the book. And I'm back. So there you go. So that's taking a look at my paintings before we take a look at Boris's paintings. Rocky McCobb says, I love the movement in the dragon. Lucas Lopez gives me Brothers Hildebrandt vibes. Oh, that's very kind. Thank you. Iodine 74 says, I bought that book a couple of years ago. Some really great stuff in there. Thank you. No, but you will find that Schmegma, the lava man, is actually in this book. I think he's called the Polynesian Lava Man or something like that. But then I hijacked my own character. Actually, two characters from this book are in Kit Carter. I don't know. Do I have that? It's in here or not. I got some of them in this portfolio, but not every piece I did in the book is in here. Some of them are just hanging out in the drawer. I don't think it's in here. Nope, it isn't. But the those of you who read Kit Carter, the big tree monster that came out of the ground is all roots and moss and stuff. He was originally in this book, and as well as the lava guy was in there as well. So I did use some of the characters in the Kit Carter story. But the my fantasy epic graphic novel that'll probably be coming up next, all new stuff. It doesn't have any of those characters in it that I'm aware of. Now let's see here. I'll make sure I'm not missing any super chats. Okay. Oh. Iodine 70 sources. And I mean that by the story in the long form, because I'm guessing as you draw and create a sketch, you've got their story working in your head. Absolutely. It was very strange. If I had a visual, I came up with a visual and I drew the visual. And then sometimes I would write the story around the character based on the visual. But then sometimes I would just come up with an idea for a character, and then I would do the write-up on it. Then I would design it after the fact. So it worked both ways while I was working on that book. Henry, you're about to find out. Creative Faces, a Christmas Gremlin is still, that's one of my favorites too. You got to take responsibility. Something has to be causing all the lights to get tangled up that you never touch. You just sit them in the box, and then by the next Christmas lights are all tangled up. No, it's a Christmas Gremlin who does it. Okay, here we go. I keep forgetting I have like little intros. So let's start bringing them up. I go, no, man, I spent all this time doing the intros. Okay, well, I didn't spend a lot of time doing the intros, but I spent time doing the intros. I dig that jazzy beat. All right, let's take a little bit of look. Pardon me. At Boris Vallejo. Tell you a quick story. Terry Dodson and I went to a New York show one time, and we got up to was it the Upper East Side, kind of across from, kind of next to Central Park. They had the illustrators. Doggone it, what's it called? The American Society of Illustrators. Yes. I'm not old. And we went up into like this like quaint little room where like the members can hang out and get drinks and stuff. It's like a lounge area kind of, but you can only get in if you're like a member. But they took us up there, and there was like original artwork on the walls, and it was like they had a Norman Rockwell, they had Leyendecker, they had some other stuff up there from various guys, and they were telling us the story about that they had Boris Vallejo and Julie Bell taught a class up in there, and I thought that was pretty interesting. And I kept thinking I should join this Society of Illustrators, but I never did. And now I can only join the Society of Old Illustrators, so I don't think I can get in. But anyway, I kept thinking, they must have some really cool workshops here that we just none of us know anything about. All right. These aren't in any particular order again. Let's start here. This is where I first discovered Boris. And I say Boris because that's how he signed his work, was just Boris for the longest time. These are the Gore books. Like there was this planet, very John Carter-esque, but kind of more sexualized, I would think. John Norman wrote these, and they were like, tribesmen of Gore, whatever of Gore. And Boris Vallejo in the kind of early 70s did the covers for these books. And they were great. Sequential for 5, thank you. Says, I'm actually glad to hear about the Christmas Gremlins messing up things. I was worried it was the giant cockroaches, or the mice that get into your stuff and leave little mice turds all over the place. Again, now he was a guy who used photo reference, but as you can tell, there's still a lot of drawing in this. The weight of the characters, they seem very much in unison with their environment, which became a thing that wasn't really true of his later work when we talked about earlier, where he was so reliant on photo reference that he was, and it was, I mean, I get it. It's a commercial industry, and you got to turn stuff around quickly, and it was a lot faster to hire models, photograph them, trace the photographs onto tracing paper, and then transfer those onto the board, and then just make very few adjustments, and then just paint the thing. And that's what a lot of his later stuff was, and that's why it's so stiff. And but this was more. Even though I'm sure he used models, I kind of feel like he did a lot of drawing over the top of what, his models were. And this is great stuff. I mean, the thing about him was, when you're comparing like him to Frazetta was always, his stuff wasn't as articulated. It wasn't as defined, generally speaking, as Boris. Boris was very, much more photorealistic, where Frazetta was impressionistic in spots. This may be, I know I just said that the Gore paperbacks were my first exposure, but I think this might be the very first Boris painting I saw, because when I first saw it, I thought, oh my gosh, that's Frazetta. And I looked closer and said, no, it isn't. And then I saw it was Boris. And I'm like, well, who's this dude? I Am a Barbarian is the name of the paperback that this book, and it's a Burroughs book, I'm pretty sure. But he did the same thing that Frazetta did in terms of putting your focus right where he wants it, and then sort of fading everything else around it. Boris would always model, he used himself as a model all the time. And that's why a lot of his characters have his face, which I thought was, come on, dude, mix it up a little bit. But he was, when he was younger, Boris was in good shape, but he wasn't this ripped. So he had to go in and, he couldn't have just been basically transferring photos onto his board and painting them. He had to do some drawing. And he's an excellent artist, and he really draws well. And you can tell that these have some of that element in them. And that's why I like them better, because they feel more organic, and not as posed as his work did later on. Like, look at the little ripples in her butt cheek right there. I don't know why he put them in there, but he did. Maybe the model had ripples in her butt cheek. I don't know. But again, great work. This is the Conan piece. And again, you can tell by the pose that this is drawn. This is probably a model, and I'm sure this is a model too, but he moved it around. There's no way you got a guy to pose in that position and stick his neck out like that. So again, he's using models, but he's going in and drawing. At least that's what it appears to be going on here. Because there's energy and there's life to it that just really great stuff. And this is all 70s, maybe a little bit into the early 80s. This, of course, I want to say this is the cover to Savage Tales Savage Sword of Conan #2, maybe. I really like the work he did for Marvel magazines. Look at these skulls here in the foreground. Even the head in the background has enough detail to be interesting. And this girl here, fantastic figure work. Look at that arm, the way it bends behind her like that. Really, really well done. Again, much more of a comic book type pose than a, than a pose that a model might be in. So anyway, let's find out a little bit about Boris while we look at this. He was born in 1941 and is a Peruvian-American painter who works in science fiction and fantasy. We know that. He was born in Lima, Peru. He began painting at the age of 13 in 1954. Wow, good for him. And obtained his first illustration job 3 years later in 57 at the age of 16. God, don't you hate guys like that? He went to an art school down there in Peru on 5-year scholarship and was awarded a prize medal. After immigrating to the United States in 64 at the age of 23, he quickly garnered a fan following for his illustrations of Tarzan, Conan the Barbarian, Doc Savage, and various other fantasy characters, often done for paperback. And that led to commissions for movie poster illustration, advertisement illustration, and the artwork for various collectibles, including the Franklin Mint, trading cards, sculptures. His preferred artistic medium is oil on board, and he has previously used photographs to combine discrete images to form composite images. That's basically what we're talking about, which became much more prevalent in his later career in the 80s and beyond. He's produced numerous film posters. His sea serpent painting hangs in the queue of the Loch Ness Monster, a roller coaster at Busch Gardens, in Williamsburg. I didn't know that. I've never been there, but man, that'd be cool. So anyway, that's just a quick, brief overview of Boris's career. What they don't tell you here is he was studying to be a doctor and gave it up and turned to illustration. Worked out okay for him, but I don't know if he made more money than he would have been a doctor. But I would assume that led obviously to a greater sense of anatomy and understanding of anatomy. There's a Doc Savage cover. Now, this, of course, is after Bama. And after Fred, gosh darn it. Guy who followed Bama on the book covers. Yeah, I'll think of it. But anyway, so he did, these are probably later 70s, but still real good. Sort of sticking with the monochromatic theme that James Bama did with all of his Doc Savage covers. Didn't Jim Lee also drop out of medical school to do art? That sounds familiar, but I can't say for sure. Paul Taylor gets a good dad joke in there. Could have been a doctor, but I didn't have the patience. Wah, wah, wah. Okay. All right, this is Monsters Unleashed #2, which I don't own, but I want to get. I love this cover. It's Frankenstein cover. This would have been 1970. I want to say 73, maybe 74. Unlike Frazetta, Boris didn't put the date underneath his signature. So I'd have to look in the magazine, which I don't own, but it's on my hit list. I want to get this because I love this cover. Oh, Frank Cho is another guy who went to medical school and dropped out. Holy crap. I guess I should have gone to medical school. I would have been better. All right. This is one of Boris's best pieces, in my opinion. This is from the 1978 Tarzan calendar. The chick's awesome. Now, I mean, if you look at the figure on the girl, there's no way you could get a model to get into that position with that much hip and everything. And that's what I like. I don't know that most people, at least people that appreciate fantasy art, they don't want to, they want that sort of exaggeration, that sort of, your heroes being in positions that normal people can't get in. Because you can really play up the drama that way. If you're completely tying your hands to what a model can do and what a model can't do, then you're going to have stiff posed illustrations. But this is just alive, man. This is electric. I love this piece. I know it's Joe Jusko's, one of Joe's favorite pieces. It's killer. Look at this tree. Just the work he put into all this stuff. And then you go in here and just kind of fade out the background, right? And you take the edge off these pteranodons so that you can see them, but they're not a lot of detail there. And then all this sort of mist back here. So where your focus is right here, baby. And then some of this tree as well, right? Basically this lit area right in here is where the focus of this painting is. Just really wonderful. This is just a great, great piece. I'm going to hunt down this calendar just because if it has this kind of artwork all throughout it, I'm all for that, man. That's cool. Another Conan piece here. And the one thing about Boris's stuff is the vibrancy of his color, which I really appreciate. Because color can be garish, but I mean, he's using a wide variety of colors here, and it's not at all. It's just really fun to look at. You got your blues and your gold up here in this lizard thing. Look how hot that yellow and that fire is. You got some purple and blue up here. Really nice, colorful piece. This figure's a little more posy. We're in 1983, so we're getting into that realm where he started relying heavier and heavier on photo reference. So you can see this is that kind of position of his neck. I mean, this feels a little bit posed, but still a real nice piece. I want to take a kind of a turn here real quick and kind of look at some of his pen and ink. A little nudity coming inbound. So if you're offended by nudity, cover your eyes for a minute. If your kids are there, cover their eyes. This is from a portfolio called Midnight Angels. And he had a particular, this is 78. He had a particular model who posed for all of these. Real attractive face, well, and everything else. But I love his pen and ink work, which you don't see a ton of it. But this whole portfolio was pen and ink. And I do have this. And I just want to take a look at a couple pieces. This is another piece from it. This is really nice. Look at the cross hatching back in here. It's pen work. I'm going to assume, I don't know. I was going to say, I don't know if he used a crow quill, if this is like a ballpoint pen type thing. I'm not sure. I mean, I suppose it could be a tech pen. I'm not really sure, but beautiful, beautiful work. Love his line quality in here. Look at the cross hatching to create these shadows in here. Her face is beautiful. This winged stuff is really, really cool. Just a really, really, he does great pen and ink work. He just didn't do enough of it. Yes, she did, but that's not the model that he used for this. But his first wife did pose for him occasionally as well. All right, this is Savage Sword of Conan #1. Nice sort of orange-blue complementary. So you see the orange is in the flesh tones here, and you got the blue all through the background, and then you got this sort of really kind of dull mauve in the foreground to kind of so that your attention is right here where the worm is right here. This isn't a great reproduction. It's a much brighter, more vibrant looking piece than this shows. Sequential Pretend, thank you, man. Thanks for helping me better study artworks and to improve my own art. I would have been a professional illustrator years ago, but I never knew where to draw the lines. Oh, God. Oh, I can't take any more of this. Boo. There we go. I had to do it. I'm sorry, even for the $10. Jerome Moore, who likes to show up in the chat but won't come on my Graybeard show. Oh, well. Hello, Jerome. Jerome is a premier talent in the industry. Spends most of his time at Warner Brothers, though, I believe. But yes, I am delving into it. I love this cover. I don't own this yet. This is like Tales of the Zombie #1, I believe. This would have been 73, 74. This is absolutely not a model drawing. You can tell by the leg. And this girl here, this is drawn. And that's why I like it. It has that energy of being alive, or in this case, the living dead. There it is. 77 Ballantine Books decided to publish a 78 Tarzan calendar based on all 12 paintings. There you go. So they're all by Boris in the calendar. That's cool. Apex, yes. Tales of the Zombie was Simon Garth. Yeah, I dig this cover as well. This is actually kind of an expensive book, so I haven't picked it up yet. And we're going to go full circle and end with where we began. And this is more gore. I like the hero in this had red hair. Another great piece, nice heroic, great figure work back here on this girl. The boat back here is really nice, although it's very sparse because, again, we're not supposed to be focused on it, but it's still there. And even back here, these elements of these boats in the fog and everything, it's really, really nice painting. But these are from the era of Boris that, obviously none of us, well, I won't speak for any of you, but I know I can't afford them. But if I want to get some original art, this kind of from 74 to 1980 would probably be that realm where I would be very interested in acquiring some original Boris paintings. But unless I hit the lottery, I won't be doing that anytime soon. All right, so there you go. That is Boris Vallejo from the 70s. My favorite Boris. Okay. So what have we done so far? We've looked at Steranko covers. We've looked at my paintings that don't compare to Boris, but it makes me want to work harder, that's for sure. And we looked at a Conan issue that I bought, a Savage Sword issue I bought. What am I forgetting? What am I forgetting? Oh, I know. Well, we got some buttes this week. You know, I want to shout out to all the people that are out there making Bigfoot videos, because I'd have to cancel the segment, but they just keep coming. And we're going to mix it up a little bit today. We have you read me like a book, Paul. Okay. Sometimes I like to start the show with a little reality before we get into the fictional universe that follows. But take a look at this. This is kind of fun. I don't know where it came from, but it's pretty cool. Who needs dinosaurs when we got these things? Are you kidding me? That's an alligator. So this must be in the U.S. someplace. Let's watch that again. And I want to point out before we move on how sharply this alligator is in focus. Dude, if you're in Florida, don't go near any body of water, okay? Especially with like your child or your dog, because they say there's a gator in every body of water in Florida. So, and I'm sure it's true like in New Orleans, Louisiana, and places like that as well. So, Paul Taylor, you're a biologist. You're a biologist and you hate gators. That doesn't make any sense. All right, now let's go from that ultra clear photography to what we've come to expect from Bigfoot videos, and that's no clarity at all. Come on, man. Apparently this is Bigfoot back here. Now, the guy that shot this video is complaining about his autofocus, and I'm like, well, nothing is in focus in this. Like that one tree branch right there is kind of in focus, and that's it. How about taking off your autofocus? Now look at Bigfoot is waving a green leaf at you. What does that mean? So what I'm seeing here is not much, but what I'm seeing is this maybe is his head right here. Hold the camera steady. Here, these are his shoulders right there, and then he's waving this green leaf. Is he reaching out? Does he want to be friends? Green laser, it can't be a gorilla because gorillas would be in focus. I've actually eaten gator, and it is good. Tastes like chicken. You know, they always say that. It's, as I recall, it's kind of a sweeter meat. I had gator fritters. They were really good in the Bahamas. Ronald Shaw says that is a peace leaf. It's obviously a trap. Okay. Paul Taylor wonders if he's celebrating Earth Day. All right, now we've got allegedly, we have a photo from a trail cam. Are you ready for this? I'm almost afraid to show it. It's so startling. There we go. Now, as this video reported, I'm about to sneeze. Woo! Sorry about that. Cryptozoologists all agree that this is a dog man. Okay, I'm a cryptozoologist, and I say it's a fake dog man. So that would be my different. That's how I would differentiate from other cryptozoologists. Is that I would say this is a fake dog man. But I have to admit, I kind of like the photo. I don't think it's bad. But the real question is this a completely doctored photo, or is this a costume? Or is it just something that someone dropped in a, I mean, I like how it kind of blurs around the edges here, kind of like these trees here. So you don't really get this sense that it may be right in here, that maybe it's been cut out of something else and dropped in here, but maybe not. So what do you guys think? Wait a minute. Why are we having, oh, that's just the film overlapping there. What do you guys think? Is this a real costume or a completely computer generated image? It looks like the world from Fox 1987 Werewolf series. You know, it's funny. A lot of times guys will do that. They'll steal an image from a movie and put it into something like this and then say, oh, look, I got this photo of Freaka Boogie says it's a hybrid of analog and digital. So you're saying it's a guy in a costume, but then doctored up. I got you. That's exactly right. That is absolutely right. Lucas Lopez, no, it's 100% computer generated. Okay. Eric Boyd saying maybe a dog food commercial, possibly. Marcus is saying computer generated. Lucas Lopez, yep. Well, I guess we're all in agreement is that it's fake, but it is cool. It's a cool fake. I do like the picture. I like the face. If I was drawing like a werewolf type creature, this is not a bad image to rip off. Nice design there. All right. Now, let's say you're 40 miles off the coast of Florida. And you see something floating in the water and you film it. And really, you say, why is there a sheet or a garbage bag floating in the water? And you say, no, it doesn't matter. Film it, and we'll say it's some sort of weird creature that no one's ever seen before. I mean, that is just like a garbage bag or somebody's bed sheet or something, isn't it? I mean, am I missing something here? You guys help me out. Paul Tim, that's not a manatee. That's like a. It's a white shirt. That's what I'm thinking. It's not moving. It's just floating there. So, and they're driving around it in their boat. Now, you guys tell me. If you were in a boat and you came across that, wouldn't you take like an oar or something and poke it? I would. Jerry Roscoe says whale schmegma. Could be a lazy manta ray. Very lazy manta ray. Okay. This is from the archives. Okay. This is like, I think was late 60s, early 70s. This was shot. And, well, you tell me. Can you imagine shooting this film? This is obviously 16 or 8mm film, and trying to convince anybody this is not your buddy in a costume. See, this is what the Patterson-Gimlin film produced. The Patterson-Gimlin film, in my opinion, is bad enough, but then you're spawning stuff like this. Marcus Killigrew says, looks like Tucci after a few drinks. Might be. That is Aaron after eating the wrong berries while camping. There you go. The thing is, it's supposed to be a juvenile or female Bigfoot because they're smaller, according to cryptozoologists. And they were talking about how, you know, generally Bigfoots range in size and weight from all. And I'm like, how would they even know this? Because you've never caught one, and all the film we have is super blurry, and most of it is fake. So how would you have any idea how big a Bigfoot actually is or how much they weigh? And me, as a cryptozoologist, I say they could be any size you wanted to as long as their feet are big. And I'm telling you right now, why would you run the film backwards? This is like a Buster Keaton silent movie, but it's supposed to be an injured Bigfoot. He's holding his arm, you know, like it's injured or something, and yet dancing at the same time. So he's a happy, injured Bigfoot. Maybe the ground is hot. Hemorrhoids. Rocky Macabre, they sure know a lot, for I've never seen one. It's true. It's true. But see, a cryptozoologist is someone who gives themselves their own degree in cryptozoology, and it's the expertise in made up things. So any of us can be a cryptozoologist. I happen to spend a little more time on it, so you guys don't have to. And that's why I am a self-proclaimed cryptozoologist with vast knowledge of things that don't really exist. Now here we go. This is a little better. And if I just insulted every cryptozoologist on the planet, you're welcome. Okay, here we go. Watch. This actually isn't half bad. Okay, watch. There he is. There. Yeah. Huh? Now, again, I've watched many videos, and I watched these Bigfoot debunkers, or they're special effects guys from Hollywood, and they watch these films, and they all say the same thing about these Bigfoot videos. They go, all these Bigfoot videos, these look like humans dressed in costumes because they walk exactly like humans. They don't see anything different in terms of their gait. And this is a guy that's just heading to Walmart because he has a coupon. Maybe it could be Kelsey. We haven't seen Kelsey in a long time. If he got lost in the woods in the bayou, he could theoretically look like this. But see how he's just kind of striding along, bouncing along there. And look, it looks like there's a guy's nose, his eyes, his chin. It looks like a guy who's got just something, a costume draped over him. And he's just booking along, man. Rocky Macabre now says, this looks like witch footage. Jerry Rasco, oh no, another creature moving like a person. I know, it's very, very. Dale A says, nope, that's it. That's the one that's real right there. Paul Taylor says, good thing the camera operator focused in exactly where he needed to. Well, at least he focused, Paul. All right. I was going to save these two for next week, but what the heck? Let's take a look. I usually don't do this many, but speaking of witches, this is something you might see if you're traveling the back roads at night in Mexico. Right there. Now, the reason this is written down is because they're speaking in Spanish. It does look like an old witch with like a couple of like walking sticks or something and a big long robe or something with a trail behind it crossing the road. The thing I love about this so much is how in focus it is, so that, we're 15 feet away from this old witch and we can't hardly see anything. That's what I love about this. It's like the camera operator's commitment to getting this in focus for us so we can actually see what's going on here. There you go. Now, I love how the old witch was hanging out on the side of the road and waited for the car to pull up and stop before she decided to cross the... Freakaboogie. I think the camera has a blur function. He turned it up to 11. Lucas Lopez says, no, that's a chimp. Dale A says, do not mess with witches. Paul Taylor, who's crazy enough to travel the back roads of Mexico at night? Well, I guess if you live there, right? Louis Bright Raven, when was the last time you saw Kelsey? Yeah, you know what? This is, I think their intentions were good, but they need to work a little harder on their imagery here. I just can't really. Dale A, isn't there a witch in Wraith of God 3? Yeah, but she's a lot better looking than this. And she's in focus every single panel she's in. All right, what do you guys think of this? Taken by a police camera in New Mexico. So therefore, we know it has to be real. The question is, what is it? You ready? Is it a flying rake? Is it a moth that flew right into the camera? Now, what's interesting about this is it almost looks like a couple of legs right there and an arm right there, right? Okay, but look at this. Then it appears to have wings and then like pterodactyl legs, right? Bird legs or something. And like claws right there. Look at that crab claw right there on its foot or something, maybe. When it flies right at camera. Apex Comics says that's a flying electroplasmatic spirit. Okay. Maybe. Interesting. Praying mantis, maybe? They don't fly, though, do they? Cyberfrog says Kelraiser could be. Stippling Vaughn says a fake cryptozoologist degree is still worth more than a bachelor degree in DEI. That is true. Paul Taylor says that looked ridiculous before it even started rolling. Rand says, yes, they do. He's saying, yes, that praying mantises do fly. I did not know that. I was in Australia at a restaurant kind of getting near the rainforest up north. And this salad bowl was out there, and there was a big old praying mantis hanging off the edge of the salad bowl. And I told the waitress, I said, got a praying mantis hanging off the side of that salad bowl. She went, oh, and she picked up the bowl and was like, you know. No one's claiming anything. What they're saying is that this is a police cam, and that they apparently the police officer who saw it in real time is like, what the heck is that? And they haven't been able to figure out what it could be. Looks like Mr. Fantastic morphing into a chicken. Matt Grendel says they fly like locusts, not far at a time. That's interesting. I didn't know that about praying mantises. See, you learn something every day. So that's my guess, is this is some sort of bug or insect that's getting lit up by this light back here and making it just look way weirder than it actually is. That's pretty cool, though. Because I figured if it was fake, if it was like AI or something, it would resemble more something than just weird shapes, which makes me think that the light is reflecting off of it and just distorting everything. And so I'm not gonna buy flying rakes or shapeshifters or any of that kind of weird stuff, or ghosts or goblins. The ghost of that limping Bigfoot, perhaps. All right, folks, there you go. 2 hours of free entertainment. Okay, 2 hours of free something. So I'd appreciate it, as I always do, if you guys would hit the like and subscribe button. It's sort of important to me. I don't want to make it too big of a deal, but I would greatly appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. Bring them back here every Sunday for Aaron Live, where we always look at some of the best cryptid videos, artwork, comics. It's just all fun, folks. That's all it is. And I would ask, though, if you were a late arriver and you missed my commercial interruption about halfway through the show, check out my campaign, Wraith of God 3, Fear Hollow, for a graphic novel. It's on Indiegogo right now. You'll find a link in the description of this video. Also, if you need back issues, if you've missed all the stuff I've done up to this point, go to my website, aaronlopresti.com. You'll find a link in the description of this video, and you'll be able to get any of those back issues. They ship sometimes the day you order them. And there's original art and all sorts of fun stuff there to look at. So thank you all for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. And I will say good night.
Corn dogs. Corn dogs. Corn dogs.